We're setting the mood right now, dude.
Yes.
Pose on the Vespa.
So yes, it's good seeing you again, bro.
Yeah, okay. All right, so everybody knows JDM Supreme, Mr. Colton, the JDM master. You're like the JDM collector. You're the guy.
I know, you're the guy, bro.
No. Okay, you know what's funny is I'm not gonna say I predicted this, but I predicted this a long time ago. For example, when Tanner Faust sold his championship winning 350Z, I was like, that's not good, because I get that at the time it was worth nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
But unfortunately, it was sold, it was destroyed, and a lot of JDM and also USDM drift cars kind of went through that same fate, right? So they became a drift car, a pro drift car, and then, you know, once they were retired, they were essentially thrown away, parted out.
Parts cars.
Yeah, they were parted out. They were pennies on the dollar. But I was thinking, like, way down the line, once drifting becomes a certain age, they will be something that's sought after. And that's what we're seeing now. And I feel like you probably have the best collection, at least in the US, if not the world.
I appreciate the kind words coming from you who've seen everything. It wasn't seen that way, you know, like 10 years ago. You know, a lot of these cars, whether they were like, not specifically the drift car, but I would say the entire genre of JDM collector car. Like, you could never put the two in the same sentence. They were always like a lesser of a vehicle. The parts used on them were cheaper quality, so some had, you know, the false misconception. And the cylinders, you know, fewer cylinders, so again, added stigma of it's lesser of a vehicle. And then, oh yeah, well, it's all-wheel drive, and, you know, it just wasn't that like genuine like Camaro muscle, big block, Ferrari 12-cylinder, you know, like Testarossa vibe. It was like, okay, Type R, Type what, you know?
Well, but the thing is, I don't know how it was with you, because for me, growing up, you know, watching Best Motoring, watching Keiichi Tsuchiya, you know, Arito, all of those guys in Japan, like, that's what I was inspired by. You know, that's what was sought after. Like, I really liked their style, but it's crazy. You look at it after all this time, and it's kind of insane. You look at these cars, they were so basic back then. And you're finding out this now, because sometimes when you're buying these cars, it's the first time you're seeing them when it actually arrives to your shop, right? And you have to go through a ground up restoration to even, like, the decals have to be perfect, and maybe even the imperfections have to be.
Totally. Well, you never, so going back to the whole snippet of like the promotional cars, and these vehicles were very special. So whether it might not be a one-off vehicle, it's definitely a one-off build with one-off parts. So for example, the Greddy, the R33 vehicle you drove today, a lot of the parts on that vehicle are or were one-off. It was a 0300 car. So yeah, like, if you were to preserve that car or re-restore it, you'd want it back in the same fashion it were as the magazine that's sitting on the top of your dashboard. You know, that's like, you're trying to recreate, you know, that epic era of the Tunerverse. So you have people collectors who got immense amounts of sentimental value in these cars, and they kind of just like get through on a shoestring budget as far as like polishing it, waxing it, cleaning it. They don't even change the oil. They don't even know what fuel it's supposed to run, and they don't even know that they're supposed to change the fuel after every X amount of months, because it just gets defunct. And yeah, you pick up problems, a lot of problems. So I have stories about every single car that I've picked up. You're like, that's not what I purchased. And some vehicles, you know, I'd pick them up and you find out like you're paying storage while it's in another country. And there are people that are test driving the car, doing videos and YouTube
Like me.
promotional
Like
stuff.
me.
Yeah,
Like,
that would be like,
I was literally just in Japan at Andy Gray Power Vehicles, and Evo 10, right, that you purchased. I think that was Kumakubo's drift car, the Team Orange one. It was there, and I had a chance to like look at it, and just it just blew me away that you're getting these iconic cars that give people like us like a certain feeling. You know, for any regular car guy, maybe it wouldn't mean anything to them, you know, but the fact that it's Kumakubo, I mean, Team Orange is so epic in so I don't know what's
without
a
the
good way
drift,
to say.
without Kumakubo and what he did, and Ibisu, like there wouldn't be the community that there is today.
Yeah.
Like whether it's there or stateside, it would be non-existent. So yeah, the Team Orange car, which was a collaboration with June, one of the last collab cars that he did before he passed away, and that's got the June engine in it, and even like the Team Orange Evo 9, that was a promotional vehicle. It was so pre-production, like there was no registration. It was like right from Mitsubishi, and it was gifted to Kumakubo, and they were just stripping the car down for testing purposes. So yeah, I've got stories for days about that.
Yeah. So let's talk. You have two interesting rigs, I guess you can call it here. You have your NYPD cop car tow vehicle, which
Yes.
I mean, I guess it's appropriate because it has like a truck motor, right?
It's got a tow hitch and an 8-cylinder, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna make a guess here. Okay, I see the Drift Alliance on there. It's either Chris Forsberg or Tony Angelo drove it in this era.
Yeah.
So which
Tony
one
Angelo.
was it? It was Tony Angelo.
But it was also built by Chris and Tony back in the early 2000s, and it is the Falcon RX-7. So this is the one that started it all. You see a lot of like Matchbox cars, and you see many other vehicles being built thereafter, but all of this is, Blitz was a major sponsor, team, Vivid Racing, Hall Tech Engine Management, and Key.
But this is
Painted.
the actual car.
Yeah, this is all painted too. None of these are vinyls.
And
all
then
the Falcon cars, as you know, are painted graphics.
But like this has been used and abused. It's been through a lot of hands. I think
So bad. This
who
was
else
so
has
bad.
driven it? Calvin Wong or?
Calvin Wang, yeah, he did. He drove it for a few events, and then obviously Tony, and then it went to a YouTuber, Noah Nelson. This was his personal like drift car, so he bought it off of Falcon after the Tony Angelo series.
Pennies on the dollar. Probably.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
He'd made videos of him hitting the wall in this thing, wrecking this car. There was nothing left of this vehicle, and all of the fiberglass is like, it's all old 2000s, like that really horrible mold stuff. So compounding problems, like when you get in an accident, now you're trying to fix stuff that was already bad to begin with. So I've got it back to a point where I'm semi-happy with it, but we do have to still replace the front bumper, which is incorrect. I'm taking notes. Tony sent me a few emails. He loves the fact this car's back out. He's a big follower of the series of the vehicles, so what we're gonna do is neaten up some of the decals, get it a little more period correct, and maybe do a little promotional drifting with it, get it back out there. My ultimate goal one day, and you're like the first person I'm telling this to, is that through the good grace of the universe, we'll get the championship, the winning cars, or the team, and get those drivers back behind the wheel for real promotional driving. You know, you get that, like, yeah.
I have goosebumps.
The
Like legit, I have
four-dimensional
goosebumps
mind
right
implosion,
now.
yes.
So the cool thing is, the cars that you're mentioning, the cars that we're talking about, and specifically this car, like I have photos of this car when it was running in Formula Drift, and probably during some of the D1 invitational events too.
I went to get a Matchbox over here. So the guy that runs, I don't know which booth it is over there, the promise where they had said like, hey, listen, we're gonna set this Matchbox aside for him. When he comes in, we're gonna give him a free car. We just, you know, put us on social media. I said, no problem, sure. I pull in the gate. They had sold all 10 out, including the one they put aside the second this car pulled up. So, yeah.
What's also crazy to me is what you've done to this you've transformed it, because it was never this clean. I'm telling you, like drifting has grown up so much. You know, you look at the cars in the paddock, there's no more zip ties on the cars. You know, everything is Zeus fasteners or like done really nice, versus this was the era of every lap you would lose your bumper.
Sheet metal screw.
Yeah,
sheet metal screw, like
whatever.
bam, we're going in, yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy that now this actually has real paint, and it's like really good
real
looking,
paint,
and
clean.
It's just so cool to see the Drift Alliance crest also on a car, because they
That's
used
where it started.
to, you know, Forsberg
Turk.
and Turk and Vaughn, they used to run the crest on the pro cars even when Drift Alliance was kind of more quiet. And then, you know, they haven't run the crest maybe for 5 years.
It'll make a comeback soon.
Yeah, probably.
It will.
But I just think in terms of American drifting
heritage, yeah, bringing it back, yeah, of course. Everyone that sees this loses their mind. Like, I actually got this graphic from Chris. I couldn't get it from Tony. It was kind of like not beyond his jurisdiction, but he didn't have like the files for it. And Chris was like, wait a minute, let me dig it up. I think I have what you need.
Yeah.
So he had sent us the vector for it, and sure enough, yeah, we were able to pop them out. So this graphic is actually a multi-piece, like the shreddings and the overlays.
It's just so cool.
It's a little technical because it gets very, very fine over here.
Right.
And also how hard this is cut. It's not an easy placement for a decal at all.
So what windshield banner do you think are you going to try to get a like era correct, like Circuit City Formula Drift?
That's exactly. I reached out to Falcon, Nick over at Falcon. He's director of motorsports, and I said, my man, I need to get the banner that was on this car. So he sent me files, everything. I mean, it's either Falcon's been a help, Tony's been a help, even Enki have helped. Enki. People pronounce it 2 different ways. This is like the last set of NTO 3Ms that they had, which was in the size, in the spec for this car. I called them up and like, do you have this wheel in this offset? Chances are you don't, because who's hoarding, you know, FT wheels in this offset? And they're like, matter of fact, we have a set of wheels for this car stuffed in our back shelf to the spec we need, and they just they made it happen. From that time. Yeah,
wow.
Brand new in the box. So brand old, and I lucked out. And then Falcon was like, if that car were still running, this is the tire it would have run, and they hooked it up with a tire. So
no way.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So these are 660s.
Correct.
But
this is the newer gen,
size.
but they're like, this is exactly what the car would have run if it's still in competition. So I was like, listen, it might actually do some more promotional stuff. So they've been very helpful as far as insight's concerned. And Tony, I mean, like, you know, he's...
What was the condition like when you got it? It was
horrible.
Was it even this color still?
No, it was so, like, I had started stripping it down. It was wrapped in black, so it had this crazy, nasty black. I don't want to say nasty because to each his own, right? It was very much loved by the last owner. Even up to the day he got rid of it, I mean, it was hard for him. It was I think like a What Monsters Do wrap, black, purple, and it went from his hands, while it was in his hands, it went out to a Travis Scott music video. So it was in Cactus Jack Boys, with this and Forsberg's 370Z Champ car. The car was absolutely unrecognizable to us what it is today. I started pulling off some of the wrap. There was like fiberglass coming with it. There was paint coming with it. The back half of the car where it was crashed, there was just all primer and broken fiberglass and
at that point,
duct tape.
Wouldn't it have been easier just to start with another car?
Yeah, you can't though.
Right.
I mean, like, yeah, you could. I could have found a shell and just kind of like done the whole pro cage to it, but at the end of the day, it's not the car. And I was
Yeah.
able to pull off a lot of the graphics, the placement. So I got the measurements, made it entire, like I want to say a layout or a vector of the graphic image itself. So I was able to replicate that on the multi-stage, the blue and the Falcon teal.
So cool. Can we take a look at the engine bay? See, it's funny.
So
this-
underneath the hood is, for the most part, original, and you'll see all the original Falcon blue paint. And what I'm gonna go in there and do is just airbrush a lot of the areas so I can leave it looking original.
It's crazy to
'Cause
me
it's
that
hard
this
to
was
just-
a pro car.
Yeah. And
This was
it was originally Montego blue, which I can't stand that color in an FD. So yeah, I mean, it's cool just to see the generations, and then also like the original fab work that they had done and the stitch welding, and
like this was a pro car. I mean, this was
500 plus horsepower. I think it's probably closer to 600 now. And it's fully lit. I mean, anti-lag system, you start the roll and turbo's already spooling at like, I want to say 20 PSI at like no RPM, which is difficult. There's a lot of lag in a rotary vehicle, but once it hits, the power to weight ratio on this car is fantastic. FDs for the longest time they were winning championships in D1 GP and also Formula Drift. You know, the Kapper RX-7.
yeah.
You know, another legendary car.
And I haven't even really mentioned the fact that it's it's on a trailer. We're in the middle of Lime Rock at Grid Life, which I'm really glad you came, because last time I met you, it was at Formula Drift in New Jersey, which is, I wouldn't say local, it's close-ish for you, right? But you brought out a couple cars for that, but I'm so glad you brought this and then you brought that. We'll talk about that later. What was the idea behind this? Is this actually a decommissioned?
Yeah, decommissioned police car, and it was actually just up until I want to say a few months before I picked it up. It's used in Netflix series, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and it actually has multiple magnets for the back, so I could change the precinct. So it's like from 15 or 16 when they were shooting the different sets.
Got it. It's that detailed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Reinstalled the siren, the microphone, the lights were already active. I just had to swap a coil pack over, clean up some of the ignition components, and that's it.
Can we take a look at underneath it?
Yeah, it's a 4.6, it's nothing too fancy, but
What do people say when they see you drive this thing?
oh, they get out of the way. I mean, like they move. They always move.
And you're not afraid of people pulling you over or cops? You don't? Do you have anything
If
you
I'm
cover?
in New York, yeah, I've got the magnets for it. I have the
Oh,
magnets, so I have
got
dual
it.
magnets for the entire car.
Got it.
When we do like some wild stuff in New York City, like
Yes.
when we did at the
Times Square.
Sevens Day, yeah. So this is a mess right now, but
You know, it's funny because it
needs to
kind
be
of
cleaned
looks
up.
like the.
it looks like a police car. It looks like it's as maintained
No, it's.
as any
I was
state
saying
vehicle.
it's hilarious that the alternator is on the top.
It's like an
Just
FD.
Just like
yeah,
the FD.
Yo.
I thought it was hilarious.
Hey.
But you're right. This is like.
Bloodlines. It's got bloodlines of an FD. You're onto something.
Yeah. It's just crazy to me. How many miles is on this thing?
It's
gotta
got
be
neglected
insane.
FD dust too, similar to what was in Mazda. On the miles on this was this has, I believe, 100,000 miles.
Oh.
So
it's probably a lot of idling though.
to an Interceptor,
Yeah.
it's absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So when you actually take this to like Times Square, do you just drive there first, then take everything off?
I've got all the magnets that go into the back.
But then
So,
you
like,
take them off quickly for a
So if
picture.
I was like, so if we were gonna like make a run like real fast,
Oh.
I've got, oh my God.
Uh-oh.
This is all like the police stuff that was in this car as
Right.
like prop stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all in the back. So it's gonna make me look crazy if I ever get.
Okay.
But if I'm like, oh yeah, we're not police anymore, or we're not
it.
police anymore. So when we filmed the video, the NYC stuff at Sevens Day, we pulled up to the line and we just did one of these quick downtown at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then all of a sudden, the local authorities had seen what we're doing. But I don't know if you've been in New York City, like
Of course.
Times Square at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Now that marijuana's been legalized, it is just like a
It's
Grateful
insane.
Dead concert.
Yeah.
So we're downtown and everybody is like borderline to the ozone layer. And we're pulling all this stuff off, and you just see all the zombies looking over, and they're just having a good time. They've got the boom boxes out, portable stereos, and they're just like, oh, you guys are the baddest cops we've ever seen. And we were there supporting, obviously, like the 7's Day vibe.
Yeah.
So they thought we were off-duty cops.
Oh my God.
So it was like, universally, it was just a very, very good moment. So it's like, as you know, police, unfortunately, are kind of getting like the shorter end of the stick lately. In New York City, it's very hard for them to do their job.
Yeah.
But seeing that we were like, looked like off-duty officers, and we were car guys that like, throw the lights, hit the sirens. Yeah. So all of a sudden, it was like a block party downtown.
My God.
So it was dope. It was such a dope
I'm so
vibe.
jealous.
Such a dope vibe.
So I love shooting in Times Square. What we shot the new Z release in Times Square, and we actually had police escort for that, which was super cool.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I was jealous for a minute.
It was incredible.
I was like, yo, thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
All right, now I know. Now I know.
Wow.
Now I know.
That was sick,
to
though.
call Colton.
But
All
I drive this thing more often than I should, with all the decals on it. Never in New York unless I have the magnets on. And there's a list of things I'm going to do to this, or already have done. Like, I've already put a switch in the dashboard. So recently I had 100,000 followers, and I was like, I've just been like so caught up in the projects and the hands-on work that I'm doing. I'm like, I've got to make a video, so to kind of appreciate what's going on. So I put a switch underneath the dash, and it's wired to the trailer lights. I mean, the trailer brakes. So if I hit the switch, sends 12 volts to trailer brakes, and it's almost like a line lock system for me.
Oh
so
my
I can
God.
like straight nuke the tires. Yeah.
That would be so
So it's
cool.
actually it's on C16 now, just in the event that I have to like rip through the gears.
That
I'm
is
always
so
ready.
cool.
I'm always ready. Always ready.
Amazing. Cool.
But yeah,
well, thank you
she's
so
good.
much for showing us this stuff.
Of course.
We still have to talk about your thing over there, but we'll talk about it in the next video.
Whatever.
Awesome.
I'm ready. I'm ready
Lime
when
rock.
you are.